This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the Healthcare Week in San Francisco 2015. I have with me John Hollister, Nemus Bioscience. It's a publicly traded company and the symbol is NMUS. John, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks, Shelley. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Good to have you.
Great.
Okay, let's get an overview on Nemus.
Great. So Nemus Bioscience is a drug development company. We're based in Southern California, and we're very unique in that we are a cannabis-derived pharmaceutical company. We have a unique license with the University of Mississippi, the only entity in the U.S. that's actually licensed to cultivate cannabis, and we're using their experience from 1968 and turning that into pharmaceutical products.
Where are you in Southern California?
So we've just opened up our headquarters in Costa Mesa, so in the southern part of Orange County. Great place to be.
So what are you going to be doing from the development standpoint to what you're going to be delivering sooner than later?
Great. Well, thanks, Shelley. We've licensed an active compound from the University of Mississippi. We're their sole partners. And that compound is a THC prodrug. That drug is able to be absorbed in the human body in a variety of different ways that the parent compound cannot. And our lead compound is targeted for treatment of glaucoma, an eye drop for glaucoma.
So I'm going to ask you just a hypothetical question. Generally speaking, in herbal growth, it's very difficult to substantially get the same strain of drug coming from plants. How do you overcome that?
It's a great question, Shelley, and I appreciate it. It's interesting. You can think of a plant as either producing a particular variety produces different kinds of what are called cannabinoids, different proteins. There are actually 106 of them, THC being the most common, cannabidiol or CBD being another that's in the press a lot today, and we're working on both of them. But we actually extract those proteins and concentrate them so that we have that particular protein. And so the amount of the particular cannabinoid in a variety is really almost irrelevant except for a yield purpose for us.
So in other words, that's what allows you to turn it into a drug.
Correct. So we take that particular protein and we can either mix and match them, we can modify them and stabilize them, and that's exactly what's been done with this particular THC compound. Because the normal THC, which you can actually, there's a licensed product, 2 of them in this country, they're synthetic versions of it. They're the parent compound. They're a ligand, an oil, and they don't get absorbed very readily. They're absorbed in the stomach, broken down, but they present themselves in the terms of bioavailability as highly variable from one person to the next person. What we're trying to do is deliver THC in other means. So optically, transbuccally, sublingually, transdermally, rectally, any other way that bypasses the liver so that we can introduce a particular dose and have a particular bioavailability as a result of that.
That's brilliant, actually. My next question is, what is the size of the market that exists today? Right. And what is your penetration going to yield in terms of market share of the existing market?
Well, thanks, Shelley. It's funny. One of the challenges with cannabis in general is that these cannabinoids work in all sorts of body systems. There are 106 of them, but they work in the CNS, they work in the gastrointestinal system, they work in the immunosystem, they work in actually anti-infective systems. So it's really, our big complexity was looking at all these different opportunities, which ones would we choose? The reason we arrived at glaucoma as our lead, it's not our only target, but our lead target, is because it's a very large market. It's roughly $8 billion worldwide. It's a dissatisfied market. There's a lot of transients. Patients will use one drug for a while, then go off and use a different drug. Then it's also, from a development perspective, very easy for us, relatively speaking. It's a well-known path. It's objective in its measures. That is IOP, intraocular pressure, is what you measure, and it's an objective measure. The trial sizes are thus smaller. Every patient is their own control. You have 2 eyes. It's a bilateral disease, so you can put active in one eye, and you can put a comparator in the other eye. The market size is, in the United States, about $2 billion today. And when we look at our projections and when we did this analysis, we looked at what penetration we would get, and we said about 10%. And if we can get a 10% penetration over in the 7th year of peak, we're at a $700 million annual sales product easily. The last piece that made glaucoma very interesting for us as a drug development company is that you look back at the history of the deals in glaucoma in ocular space, and they're done bimodally. They're either done early, after phase 1, 2A kind of clinical trials, or they're done after phase 3. And typically in pharma and biotech development, most deals are done phase 3. You're waiting to see what happens. But in the ocular space, that can be done much earlier. So it's quicker, faster, cheaper, and you might actually do a deal earlier. So all those are very attractive to us.
So, I mean, you know, one of the things that's just so stymieing to me is with that size market and being a drug developer, you know, are you going to actually go out and try to market this to the market, or are you going to be seeking partners?
Yeah, so that's the question that people really. Do we have the audacity to create the next Pfizer?
Yeah, who are you?
No. You know, it's funny, as much as I love the sales side of it, and obviously we all carried bags before, so I carried a bag for SmithKline and Beecham years ago, loved it. We don't have that aspiration. We're a drug development company. We look at partnering our licensing out these products, selling them out discreetly, and in fact, glaucoma is an example. We could actually sell it or out-license it and take it out of the mix without affecting the rest of our development. On the other hand, we could be an ocular and then develop something that's a patch that goes, or the next active compound. The other element, the other part or attribute that we have is that of this cannabinoid platform, THC is one active agent, cannabidiol, CBD, is another that can go to a whole series, whether it's anxiety or epilepsy. We can look at a combination of them to go to a transdermal patch, for instance, or an ocular gel for MRSA or infections, and have those to spin off. But all of it comes from cannabinoids that are coming out of this wonderful university called the University of Mississippi, where they have rich 45 years of intellectual knowledge, and we are their sole partner.
For more information, what's your background?
So
besides being a drug salesman.
Yeah, so I graduated from Stanford, pre-med, econ, and then went off to SmithKline Beecham, and had one of the classic, you know, marketing, the MBA. Went to Amgen, learned a lot about oncology, and then went to small biotech and startup companies. And that combination has, you know, and the long, strange trip it's been, but it's gotten to a place where I just pinch myself because we know that these chemicals work, which is very unusual in drug development. We know cannabinoids work, and now our trick is how quickly can we go through the FDA pathway to give physicians the information necessary to prescribe a cannabis-based product that helps patients that you get at CVS and at Walgreens rather than at a dispensary where it's a little grayer about what the physician is actually prescribing.
Well said. Let's get your website for our audience, if you would.
Great, thanks, Shelley. If you want more information about us, we are a public company, so therefore all the information can be found at www.nemusbio, that's NEMUSBIO.com, and go to the investor relations, and we have our 8K, we have all of our financial information, our presentation deck, everything can be found there. Really look forward to having, and please, for any questions, we always like to take questions.
He's easy to get along with, ladies and gentlemen. John Hollister, Nemus Bioscience, a publicly traded company. The symbol is NMUS. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the Healthcare Week in San Francisco 2015. John, my pleasure.
Thank you, Shelley. Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.